everybody, it's Valerie. How are you? And I am good. This is Update Tuesday, and I wanted to show you what's one of the items that Stampin' Up! Shared with us today. This item is the Lovely You bundle, which I have the stamp set, or the punch, but I do not have the stamp set. But we are going to make this card today because I loved how it featured the Forever Gold Specialty Designer Series paper, because that is one of my favorite things in the catalog. I'm going to pull this a little bit closer so you can see just a little better. Behind that, they have a piece of our Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and it has a Magenta Madness watercolor wash on it, so we are going to do a watercolor wash. So I'm just going to set that aside, but I wanted to show you that is one of the stamp sets and bundles that is featured on the front page. All of these flowers and these sentiments are from the Lovely You stamp set. And I'll quickly show you the bundle. It's on page 22, and you have the punch. We're going to use the punch today, but obviously I said I don't have that stamp set. I don't know why I didn't get it, but you know me, I get a punch and then I don't get the stamp set to go with it sometimes, and it's just a little silly. But so instead I want to use the Rooted in Nature, and we're going to do the You Are Wonderful sentiment that's on there. So that's what we're going to use tonight. Just wanted to show you all of that before we got started. So let's grab, first thing I'm going to do is grab some paper towel, because we're going to start with that watercolor wash. That's the first thing that you need to do whenever you start something with watercolor, just because you want it to have some time to dry. Now, I've already done another piece for tonight, but I want to show you how to do it, because it will take about an hour to dry completely. At least that's how long my piece took earlier. Now, this Fluid 100 watercolor paper is 100% cotton. And let me see how many sheets are in it. There are 10 sheets in it. And we're going to go ahead and quickly measure it because we need to cut it down anyway. So it measures 5 inches. I gotta pull the arm out. It's probably 5 by 7, just what I thought it was. So it's 5 by 7, but the piece we needs to be right around 3 3/4, just a hair under. Not much, but just a hair. And then, oh, I totally did that wrong. Oh, we're gonna have to make something else with that piece. That'll be for another project. Oh no. 4 1/4 by 4 3/4, or just under 4 3/4. Just want to make sure I have it right before I cut this time, because but at least it was a big piece that I cut, and it wasn't, you know, a bunch of tiny pieces. That doesn't even look right. It's got to be 3 1/4. I wrote my measurement down wrong. My goodness, I'm having a day. I knew what size it is because I already have another piece over there, and it is the same size as, because we want it to fit underneath. I'm going to pull out the Forever Gold paper because we want it to fit underneath one of these rectangles, and we want this one in the center. Now they're just connected. It was connected there. I already disconnected that little piece. Just 4 little connections. So there's one on each, so you don't have a lot of punching out to do. So just make sure your piece fits underneath. Yay, I did it right that time. But aren't these gorgeous? Look at how the detail on those. They're laser cut. Now you can turn them over and use the other side if you want white. That's fine, but you've got that gorgeous gold, and you get, I don't remember how many sheets of each, 3 or 4 sheets of each of these. Let me look and see how many sheets are total in here. 6. So you get 3 of these, and then you're also going to get 3 of these sheets. And as you recall, we did take, I need to put that layer back in there or they're going to get intertwined together. Make sure you keep that tissue paper when you get it. Like, we've used a couple of these already, and we're going to take a couple more out for this card, but not yet. So I'm just going to set that aside. and we'll get started with that watercolor wash. Now, for me, the easiest way to do the watercolor wash is just to take my ink pad, and I go through a lot of paper towel, but I save paper towel. Like, I've used this for other things because there's no point in just throwing it away when I know I can use it for something like this. Just take a block, a clear block, get ink on it from your ink pad, and then grab whichever water painter that you want to use. These are the new water painters. These are fantastic. Look, you get a very large brush, you get a tiny brush, a super tiny brush, and you get this medium-sized brush, which is the one we're going to use. Now you'll see it's stained because that Magenta Madness will stain it, but it's not a big deal. Once you clean the brush out, you can use it for other colors and it's not going to stain. Now, I put several drops of water just by squeezing this. It's got this little, says push on here to squeeze a little water out. And then I just mix up that ink with the water. Now, you can do this also with setting it on your block, just dripping some of your ink refill on here if you want to, and then adding water to it. But this is just the way I like to do it. I'm going to add a couple more drops, mix it up, and then I'm just going to brush across the paper. And now, because I added a little bit more water, it's going to be a little bit lighter in spots, because as you go across, you don't want it to be perfect. You need a little bit of white showing in a couple of spots on this. So just go ahead and go across it, but then as you go over it again, in some of those spots it'll get darker. Take some of that ink from the edges where it's a little bit darker, where you haven't mixed it in yet with water, and then also just going over some spots will just keep making it darker. And you can see the paper is curling up a little bit. That's not a big deal. I'll show you in just a second how to get it to lay flat. And this one I'm actually getting pretty wet. I think I put more water on this one than I did earlier, so this will take a little while to dry. Now, another way to dry it quicker, and you can see I did leave a few little white spots around the edges. And now for this, I'm just gonna wipe the block off and set it to the side. But then you'll wanna take that block and run it under the faucet, some soapy water, or use a wipe or something on it. But to clean your brush, just push again and get that water out to rinse that off. Or if you have a jar of water or a cup of water or something, you can rinse it that way too. But just make sure, if you keep doing this on a white paper towel or tissue or something, wait until it's clear and there's no pink in it, and then you know your brush is clean. And then you can use it for other colors. And it's still got just a tiny bit of pink. You might not be able to see it on camera, but I can see it here, so I'll just rinse it a couple more times. And kind of when I squeeze it down, I can see there's more pink coming out. But right now it looks pretty good. So then just cap it back up. And to refill it, all you have to do is twist this off, fill it with water, tighten it back up, and you're good to go. And so we only used about half of what water was in there. A lot of that was squeezed out right here. So we really didn't use that much for this paper. Now, I found earlier with this paper, you can put a little bit, spritz a little water on the back and it'll flatten. But also, I just kind of rolled it in my hands earlier and laid it down, and then it dried pretty flat. And you'll see that in a minute when I grab that piece. But let's just close this up and we'll get started with the next little part, and that will be the sentiment. Now, because it's going in the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch and it's the largest size, it's going to be 1 inch. So we're just going to cut a 1 inch strip because I'm not sure how long it needs to be yet, because I haven't actually made the card yet. And I didn't even make a sample earlier because I thought, no, this is a cute one. We need to go through all of the directions for this one. So some basic black cardstock. Hi Lois, how are you? I don't even know if I said hello to Ingrid. Hi Ingrid, I'm sorry, I just got started right away and went on my merry way here. I'm going to grab my white powder, my white embossing powder. And now, like I said last time, we don't sell the embossing buddy anymore, but it helps so much keeping the static off your paper that I still like to use it. Now they sell them at Michael's or something, but I don't know what they call them, but we called it the embossing buddy. All right, so we want to stamp "You Are Wonderful." And I don't have labels on these stamp sets because these are the ones, the labels that would never stick, so I never put my labels on them. So let's hope I stamp it straight. And now we're going to be punching the right end of this, so we're going to stamp it down here. I don't want to go too far. Oh, I did not get it even. All right, we're going to turn it the other side. We're going to start over. All right, let me see. Make sure I lay it on there straight this time. All right, and I'll stand up just to give me that edge. There we go, much better. And then just sprinkle it with your Whisper White embossing powder. I don't know if it's called Whisper White, but that's what I call it. It's definitely white embossing powder. And I'll get this out of the way and I'll grab my heat tool. And we're just gonna heat it up. I'm gonna turn it on for a second just to let it heat up a little bit. And I'm sure you all know, just be careful, it gets really hot, so hold your paper down with take your pick tool or something else. Now this wouldn't be too bad because you got a bit of space, but I say don't chance it, just hold it down with something else. And as you heat it, that embossing powder melts, and it's so fun to watch it melt. It's so beautiful. It's the little things, right? The little things in life make us happy. Melting embossing powder is one of those for me. Now I should have obviously been a little better about choosing my sentiment because it went off the paper just a little bit, but not too bad. You can still see that that's an F even though it went off the edge of the paper. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna make sure this is cool before I punch it. Hi Susan, how are you? We'll give that a second to cool. Grab our Whisper White cardstock, get that folded in half. Now this is the thick Whisper White. When I'm making a card with my Whisper White, I try to use the thick because I love it makes a nice sturdy card with the card base. The regular Whisper White is fine, but it's just not as thick as this, obviously. So you're gonna slide into your punch, and then always check on the back to make sure it's right where you want it. And I know it's hard to see with the black paper in there. And you know that's the back where we messed it up. And then we're just going to trim the end off just a little bit. Just right at the end. So we have our sentiment ready. We already did our watercolor wash. Now this is still a little bit wet, so I'll grab the one that I did earlier. And like I said, the one I did earlier, I didn't have as much water in, so you can see the lines a little bit better on this. And it's, I don't want to say it's darker because I think this is actually going to be darker, but you can just see the lines a little bit better on this. So for this, I am just going to glue this down. And then I'm going to glue our little laser cut paper on the top of it. And now that'll be the hard part, is getting that laser cut, and it's not really hard, but a little more difficult because it'll be just the edges of it that I put glue on because it's such an intricate pattern. There's really nowhere else to put glue except right around the very edge of it, and even that's really thin, so this ought to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure I'll have glue on my fingers by the time we're done, and if I don't, that's really going to be amazing. So I'm just going to squeeze it super light because it's not going to take much to hold it down. And once we put dimensionals on the back of our sentiment and on our little gold leaves that we're going to put on there, that will help hold it down as well. So for any of you that are here in Northwest Florida, you know we have had so much rain lately. It has just been like, I don't want to say storms because they're not really storms, although I think it did thunder a little bit yesterday. But it has just been rainy every day, so every day I've been like, oh, gotta do something in the craft room. So what have you all been doing this week? Anything fun and special? I hope you've been having a good week so far. I know it's only Tuesday, but you know, we're in day number 3 of the week already, so. All right, look how pretty that is. I absolutely love that specialty gold paper. It's gorgeous. All right, I'm gonna put a couple of dimensionals on the back of this, and then we'll pick which leaves and stems that we want to use. I see Lois has been making cards. Excellent. I've seen some of your pictures that you've posted, Lois, and they've been really cute. I'm going to set this out of the way, get our punch out of the way, and I'm just going to move our card pieces over just so we can choose our leaves. Now, according to the photo, they used this one here in the corner, and so I'll definitely use that one because I really like that one too. It's just like a little branch with these little round buds at the end of it. Now here's the part that gets fun, is when you're punching out these little intricate pieces. It's not super hard, you just have to be careful. But if you happen to rip a piece off, that's okay. You can always go back and trim it somewhere else and it'll be all right. So they used that one. They also used one that I've already used, so we'll go on to something else. Let's see. We can always grab from the other sheet as well, but I figure, oh no, they didn't. It's right there. Look at this. I've got pieces falling out that I've taken out before to show everyone. We've used this little gold guy there. These are some extra pieces that I used parts of before. And then this little piece on this side with all these tiny little leaves on it is what we're going to use next. And I punched it out the back. I got to be careful how I pull it out. All right, there we go. So get these back on the top, get that paper back in between. This is really the hardest part, is organizing it to get it back in the package. Trying to put it back in the package is not super easy. I will tell you that right now, because I have done that and it's not real great. You know what? I should have waited to put that center one on. Let's pull that center one off because we want these to like come out from the bottom. We're going to need to take a little tip off that. And if we want it to come out from the bottom, we need to hook it on there because I want it standing up from the other gold so it's not sticking to my glued fingers, right? Have any of you used this gold paper yet? I think Ingrid has used it because I saw she did a video with it. And then we'll put our other leaves just right next to it right here. And so we're going to hold all of those down with a dimensional. And that's perfect because then we're not wasting dimensionals. Of course, I did waste one when I peeled that middle one off. Right, Ingrid? Isn't the gold paper fantastic? It's like one of my favorite things in this entire catalog. And now this card is super easy. Now, look, I have this one little leaf that's going to stick off. So I'm just going to chop it off right there. And then I'm going to take this other one that's next to it, if I can hold on to it. Oh my goodness. If I can hold on to it to get that little piece off. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to chop this one off on this side so they look even. So now they both look like they were meant to be that way. Because this needs to go right up against the edge now. They didn't put any embellishments on theirs. And I don't think it really necessarily needs any, but I was thinking, actually I was thinking about the gilded gems because they're super shiny, but then it occurred to me, why not put a couple of these little magenta pieces on there because they're super adorable. And they're just a little bit different. And they won't really add sparkle, but they'll add just a little something to the card. And now when I peel these, I kind of have to bend that paper back because I found if you don't, sometimes that top little dome will come off and you'll just have that flat piece left. And you probably can't see it on there, but that one's just a little flat piece left and there's nothing next to it. There's no little dome on the top of it. It's just a sad little flat piece now. Okay, sorry, I had a little piece. I'm just whipping it around on there. I had a little piece of paper on there that was bugging me. So then I just added one on there too, just why not? Now you could add more, you could add less. I kind of like to do odd numbers, so I just did 3 on this one. But I think it turned out super cute. And it's super easy, and now you can obviously stamp something on the inside if you want to. I'm not going to stamp anything today. I'm just going to leave it blank. I think it turned out great. I love getting these Update Tuesday posts from Stampin' Up! To give us some inspiration, and I love sharing them with you. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. I will be back tomorrow for One Card Wonder Wednesday, and I will design something for that. Between today and tomorrow night. I went ahead and I started getting catalogs ready so I can mail them at the end of the week. So I hope you're on my list, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I will see you tomorrow for One Card Wonder Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. Bye.